Hey, this is Dustin. I'm in the mountains today of North Alabama doing a quick overnighter. It's January the 15th and we were supposed to have gotten like 4 or 5 inches of snow, but mainly in this area we're getting freezing rain and sleet. It's not gotten above 24 today. In fact, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now. It's 23 degrees and I'm still getting bouts of sleet and freezing rain. Just to the north of us, maybe 15 miles, they've got like 4 inches of snow. But hey, I'm getting out tonight. This is gonna be a quick overnighter. I'm in a wilderness area and I'm gonna test out a new tent, and also with my Anvil Horn sleeping bag, which is rated at 15 degrees, I'm gonna see how far I can push it. It's supposed to get down to 13 tonight, so we're gonna see how it works. So come on and go with me. This should be quite an adventure. Yes, that is slick indeed. So this mainly is going to be a stealth camping type adventure. I'm in a wilderness area for hiking and backpacking. There's really no set rules for camping up here, but there are several places where I found where people have camped up here in the past. And I know camping has been going on up here for years. So while it's not specifically designated for camping, people camp up here quite often. So this should be interesting. I found, I think, the perfect spot up on a ridge line. I believe this is it right here, if I can make it up through here. Scouted this area out. I think this is where I want to go, is up on this little plateau here, top of the ridge. Following an old roadbed from no telling how many years ago up here. It's not much of it left. Starting to get some more sleet. That's slick. Maybe we'll get some snow. Maybe this will change over to snow. Right up here. I believe this is the place. Virtually no trees above me, no dead trees. I think I'm going to be good even in an ice storm. And as you can see, it's sleeting again pretty hard, but it is sleet, not freezing rain, so that's good. I got to get set up because it's getting late. Boy, the sleet is really starting to come down now. Yeah, the top of my bag, it's frozen. I got to get a tarp up. There's a tarp and there's some paracord. Let's get this thing set up and get some shelter going. So I got my tarp up, but it is continuing just to sleet like crazy. In the forecast, I think the precipitation was supposed to be pretty much over by now, but this seems to be the strongest precipitation we've had all day. But I'm going to get my chair set up here. I'd planned on having a fire tonight, but that's not going to happen. Everything is coated with a layer of ice now. The trees are not bad. There's very thin layer of ice on them. And I'm in an area where there's no trees, large trees, right around me. And in the area where I was also going to put my tent. But I'm telling you, this is pretty crazy. Definitely glad I brought my chair. But I got to get a moment where I can get my tent set up. It is starting to get dark. Well, I got my tarp set up, and it's got me a little protection from this sleet. It was actually supposed to let up this evening, but for the last 45 minutes, it has been sleeting nonstop. I'm not worried about it forming on the trees. They're pretty cold, and it is dry sleet. Also, the area where I'm going to set my tent up, which is about 50, 60 feet over there, is a nice flat area, and it's totally open above it. It's probably 50 feet across, actually probably further than that. It's probably 100 by 100 area with no trees above it. The trees around it are not large trees, so I should be safe there even if there is some ice buildup. If it started building up a lot of ice on the branches, you know, I should be good even there because there's no large trees. The nearest one is probably 150 feet that way. So I got to get the tent set up. The good thing about it is it has a footprint. I can put the footprint down, put the poles up, put the fly up, then put the mesh, the body of the tent inside, and it shouldn't get wet. Even with sleet, you know, some of this is not totally dry. There is some of it still has a little liquid in it. So, but mainly it's dry sleet, but it's really coming down. You can hear it. So I've got to get that tent up because it's getting late. It'll be dark soon. So I'm using a new tent this evening that I just got in. It's a budget tent. It's a one-person backpacking tent by a company called Lux Tempo. I took it out, looked at it. The seams are all taped. There's no hanging threads on this tent. It looks like it's really well made. You say, Dustin, you're taking a tent you've never used out on an event where you've got sleet/freezing rain. Yeah, but I've got an extra tarp. If push comes to shove, I can take the other tarp, put over the top of it in case, you know, it leaks in any way. I don't think it's gonna leak anyway because this stuff is pretty much all frozen. But we're gonna try this thing out and then I'll do a review of it in the future. All right, I'm hungry. It's time to get something to eat. Well, let's open this stuff up and see what it tastes like. Mountain House fettuccine alfredo with chicken. You know, you can't go wrong with Mountain House. It's been around for years. It uses good ingredients and they all taste really good. peak to peak might be a little bit better than Mountain House, but you know, Mountain House is a good one. You can't go wrong with Mountain House. Well, it's 2024, January the 15th, and this is my first adventure this year. And you know, 2023 was a tough year. It really was. I've shared with you guys already that I started a new job in January of last year, pastoring a church full-time. And I had pastored churches, small churches before, but never one that could support me full-time. I'd always worked another job. And then I've been an elder and a lay pastor in other churches. But this is, you know, full-time paid position. And it's been good, but there have been some challenges there, you know, some growing pains. And let me get another bite of this. And I'll talk about Karen a little bit. So in April of last year, 2023, and those of you who watch the channel, you probably know this, Karen was diagnosed with breast cancer, the big C. And, you know, that's always scary. And but Karen embraced it very bravely. She was, you know, she took a lot of courage and in a relationship with the Lord, and she pressed into the Lord, you know, more than I've ever seen her do so. She really even grew stronger in her relationship with the Lord at that time. And she made a really tough decision. She decided to do a double mastectomy, even though the surgeon, her doctor, a lot of the doctors were saying that wasn't necessary. But we found out she made the right call, because after the mastectomy, they looked at the tissue and they realized it had spread more than they thought it had. It was more advanced than they thought it was. And so we thought she might have to have chemo, but thank God she didn't have to have chemo. She did have to have 6 weeks of radiation, which is no walk in the park. But she did really good with that, came through it with, you know, minimal side effects. There were some. But we were just really thankful she didn't have to have chemo. Chemo is some bad, bad stuff. It's necessary sometimes. I know women that have had it and made it through it even 10 years ago and are still cancer-free. They've made a lot of advances in breast cancer. But 2023 is over. We didn't get to do hardly any trips. Karen did one, and that was in November. We got to go to the Smokies and do a really great overnighter. She pushed herself a little too hard. I pushed her a little too hard for the first trip, but you know, it still turned out to be a good trip. But I'm looking forward to 2024, and hopefully we can have some great adventures. This is one of the first one, you know, camping out in freezing cold temperatures. It's supposed to get down to 13 tonight. So I'm going to finish up on this meal and get in the tent and get settled down for the night. And I may show you my setup in there, and then, you know, I'm going to get to bed, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Good night. It's coming down now, and it is really coming down. All right, so I'm in my tent, and I like the tent. It's got plenty of shoulder room. It's got fairly good headroom. I'm on a 3.5-inch sleeping pad, but it is a little short. I'm probably 6'2", 6 to 6'2", somewhere around there. I used to be 6'2". And I think this tent is 84 inches, but when you get on the pad, you know, and it raises you up 3 to 4 inches, then it kind of narrows, you know, the both ends. But it's 16 outside, and I'm headed to bed. It's late. I've been out watching it snow and taking video for a while, so I'm in here in my Big Agnes sleeping bag. I also brought, like I said, another 1-pound sleeping bag. A get out gear Puffy bag that weighs 1 pound. If I need it, we'll find out. I'm going to see how it sleeps. See you guys in the morning. Well, good morning. It's about 6:30 outside. It's a balmy 13 degrees, and I'm going to get up and get moving and get me some hot coffee, get some coffee made. You can see the condensation on the fly this morning. Well, we hit a new low. My outside thermometer says 12 degrees. And I believe it. It's cold out here. Looks like we picked up about another inch, maybe a little bit over an inch last night of sleet and fine snow. That's good. It's about 7:30, 7:45 out here. It's still a balmy 12 degrees. Last night I slept pretty good till about 4:30. I started getting a little cold, as I said. I could feel the cold coming through the pad. So I put on my puffy jacket. I always put my puffy jacket inside my sleeping bag to keep it warm. And put that on, and that got me through the night. If it gotten any worse, I did have some hot hands with me. I always carry 4 or 5 packs of those, the ones that last like 8 hours, and that would have warmed it up really toasty in there. Or I could have boiled some water. I do carry a small Nalgene bottle. You can boil some water, put it in a Nalgene bottle, put that lid on it, and put it in there, and that would have got me through the night. I have slept on that pad before with another pad underneath it, down in the 20s, low 20s. The difference was when I slept in it and it got down in the low 20s, it had been about 50 that day or 45. The ground wasn't a solid sheet of ice like it was last night. When I pitched my tent, I basically pitched it on top of sleet, about a half an inch or an inch of sleet. So I was sleeping right on top of 32 degrees or less last night. So that made a big difference on the sleeping pad. But I did feel the cold coming through the pad, especially where the pleats are. I've got a pleated pad, and that's probably where the insulation, probably has holes where those pleats are, and that makes a difference. If you're gonna camp out and it's getting down in the low teens, then you probably should go with something that has an R value of 5 or more. Probably somewhere between 5 and 6. You could try 4, 4.5, but probably be better to even go up to a 5 or 6 to get down that low. And I would have stayed toasty warm, I'm pretty sure, all night at that point. Some things to keep in mind when you're camping like this, if you've never done this before, your water is going to freeze solid if you don't put it inside your tent. I had 2 bottles. One I left out. It's a solid ice when I got up this morning. Put one inside my sleeping bag with just enough water for this morning, and that kept it from freezing. Also, your fuel canister. If you're using an isobutane, you need to put that in your sleeping bag with you too, unless you're in grizzly bear country. And then I suggest you put it in your bear bag. But then the next morning you can get it when you get your bear bag down, put it inside your puffy jacket, up next to your body, and let your body temperature warm it up. And then you'll be good then too. It'll last long enough to get breakfast done. When it gets real cold like that, it's hard for it to come out. But overall, it was a good experience last night. But I'm gonna drink this coffee and get out of here.
Camping in an ice storm at 12 degrees Fahrenheit was a first for me. But I found in my life that most real growth takes place when I'm willing to push myself outside of my comfort zone. Hey guys, thanks for coming with me on my adventure. I hope it inspires you to get out and have your own.